What's going on, people? My name is Antoine, this is ATM Tech and welcome to the channel. So I've got my hands on the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra and I thought it'd be great if I could bring you guys some early emulation tests. So in case you don't already know, the Galaxy S22 Ultra is Samsung's latest flagship model, utilising a brand new 4nm processor. Depending where you are in the world, you'll either get the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 or the Exynos 2200. Me being from the UK, I do have the Exynos 2200. Just to give you some specs, we have a 6.8-inch dynamic 2x AMOLED display. It is a QHD plus resolution and it also has a 120Hz variable refresh rate screen, which should be great for gaming and all-round user experience. The model I have comes with 128GB of storage and 8GB of RAM. They do memory variants all the way up to 1TB. Each of them also have 8GB of storage except for the 1TB model, which comes with 12GB of storage. It's a little bit disappointing because last year's S21 Ultra had 12GB of storage from the base model. Anyway, that's enough talking, let's get into some emulation. So here we're starting off with some PSP emulation, playing some God of War, and I have bumped the resolution up to 4 times, just 1 to make it look a bit nicer and 2 just to see how well it handles it. God of War is a detailed game with a lot of things going on, but it seems to be playing it pretty well. I did notice when the action kicked in, it took a few minutes for it to get up to 100% speed, but once it was there, it was able to hold it no problem. So next we're moving on to some Naruto Ultimate Storm, and I always like to test this game because I've had some flagships in the past struggle with the higher combat scenes. But again, I'm at 4x resolution and this seems to be handling it absolutely perfectly. No drop frames or frame skips, running at 100% speed with no issues. It looks pretty good to me. Next we're going to jump into some PS1, and honestly it would be a bit of a catastrophe if it struggled with PS1 games, but everything's running absolutely fine. Bit of Crash Bandicoot here. And I know Crash Bandicoot's not exactly the most taxing of games, but again, PS1 emulation has been fine for a while and it continues with the S22 Ultra. And then just to follow up, we've got some Tekken 3. And one thing I do notice with Tekken games is that once a round starts, the sound sort of glitches out and it takes a couple seconds to get up to speed, but then after those couple seconds, everything runs perfectly fine. Although I only intended on recording a minute or 2 of gameplay, I actually ended up playing Tekken 3 for about an hour or so. Next we're going to jump into some Dreamcast and one of the greatest fighting games of all time, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. This was another one that I really didn't expect it to struggle with whatsoever. Fighting games are always interesting when it comes to emulation because there's fast action and you need reaction and the game needs to respond as well. Even just a few milliseconds of input delay can really make fighting games unplayable when it comes to emulation, but thankfully I can report it plays just as well as it would on the console. And then just for a bit of fun, we tried out some Jet Set Radio. Considering this game is a bit of an icon, I never actually played it until last year and I don't understand what the hype is about, but I digress. So up next we're doing some N64 emulation and we've got Killer Instincts Gold. Now in terms of gameplay, this game ran absolutely fine. The only issues were when it came to the character select screen. Once you moved onto one character and moved back to a previous character, the character models didn't change and they were just overlapped on top of each other. So not really anything that affected the gameplay, but just something worth mentioning. After that I jumped into some Super Smash Bros. Again, another action-packed game, but at the same time I didn't expect the phone to struggle with it whatsoever and it ran absolutely perfectly. I'm pretty bad at this game, but I was able to still do well, so I'm going to put that down to the performance of the phone. Now here's where things started to get a bit interesting. I loaded up the Citra emulator to play some 3DS, but when I loaded the games there was sound but no video. Now I've tested these games and this emulator on the S21 Ultra as well as the Z Fold 3, and although they're not perfect, they still run, so I did think it was a bit strange. And I did try the version of Citra from the Play Store as well as downloading the MMJ version from GitHub and had the same results for either one. And then the fun continued when I loaded up Dolphin to play GameCube and Wii games, and I just kept on getting errors and crashes and freezes and I basically couldn't get a single game to load. And again, I did try the version from the Play Store as well as the MMJ version you can download from the internet, and I had the same issues both. I don't know if it was just a coincidence that both sets of Nintendo games didn't load, but I thought it was strange. Although that being said, the N64 did run just fine. And then last but not least, we have some PS2 games running on the Ether SX2 emulator. So the first game I tried out was Devil May Cry, and when I first loaded it up, I got sound but a blank screen. I went into the settings, played around, and in the end I changed the graphics renderer from Vulkan to OpenGL, and after that it ran absolutely fine. Full speed, no drop frames, nothing whatsoever. The game ran perfectly. I use Devil May Cry quite a lot in my tests, as it's one that I know generally runs well, so I kind of think of it as a bit of a benchmark game. So after that, I did load up some Tekken 4 and I started to run into some issues again. So just like Devil May Cry, it loads you with a black screen. So I changed the graphics renderer from Vulkan to OpenGL to software, and I was getting no screen, but the sound was working perfectly fine. So the game was working. It's just for some reason the graphics wasn't loading. You couldn't see any video. Now, admittedly, I didn't spend a great deal of time trying to get this sorted. I probably spent about 20 minutes playing with the settings, but I do want to do some further investigation to try and sort some of these issues, not just with the Ether SX, but also with Dolphin and with Citra as well. Because I've done these tests with previous Samsung flagships and I've not had these issues. The only thing I can think of is the fact that I have the S22 Ultra before release, and usually when the phone releases, there's a day of release software update. So maybe when that update comes, I can test it again to see if it changes anything. But I definitely have some more investigation to do. If there's anyone watching who has a few fixes for me to try, let me know in the comments down below, because it's really racking my brain as to why I'm having these issues with this phone, but I've never had any issues with anything else. But I'm definitely going to do a follow-up video in the future. So if you want to check that out, make sure you subscribed, like the video, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace. Also, before you go, if you like emulator tests, make sure you check out this one on the screen. Okay, see you later. Bye.